to another product showcase. This one's also a little bit different because this is my other bike. This is built by Bonzai, custom process, a 2018 Kona Process 153 CRDL, CR being carbon, DL being deluxe. So it had the best shock at the time, full carbon frame, except for the chainstay, which is aluminum. It originally was blue, which you can kind of see some little bits and pieces of the original blues, like the Enduro blue that you see a lot of a couple years ago. It was actually my employee's bike frame at one time. He sold the bike to my customer who decided he wanted extra large, not a large. So he sold me the frame, and then I decided, hell, we just painted my fork on the Hanzo. Let's paint the frame and let's like make this thing badass. So we did. The frame was custom painted by Alliance Coachworks in Fort Worth, Texas. It is a more of a chameleon-ish type color. In the right lighting, it will match this green as well as this purple. Pretty cool. I did have it ride wrapped, so I put the ride wrap on just in case. And the ride wrap, by the way, works. It works well. I did get a little nick at Sansom Park. Like all falls I have, they were stupid and slow speed, so I got a couple little nicks here. The paint seems to be intact really well, but the ride wrap did its job. So when I did that, the little nicks on there, I was at Sansom Park on the White Loop on Speakeasy, and I was going past one of the bypasses when there's mud, but there wasn't mud, so I was just going, and lots of big rocks, and you kind of weave in between two rocks, and for whatever reason, my tire decided to hit the one rock in the side of the trail and stop me abruptly at like 5 miles an hour, and I simply just fell over and nicked the ride wrap. And like I said, it did its job. These wheels may look familiar. These are my mountain wheels that I swapped between my Hanzo ST and my Kona Process. Otherwise, the spec is almost identical, because if it ain't broke, don't fix it. It all works really well. RaceFace Next R carbon cranks again, 34 tooth aluminum ring. The mountain wheel set has a 1052 SRAM XX1 cassette and oil slick, as well as oil slick chain. I'm running SRAM XX1 AXS shifting, which, by the way, is the best shifting you'll ever have, period. Doesn't matter if you get GX, X01, or XX1. It is the best shifting you'll have today, bar none. I am running the newer Time Special 8 pedals. And between the downhill pedals on my Hanzo and these are lighter weight. They both work really well. I've got no issues. For my mountain wheels, I am running the RaceFace Arc 31 Carbon Rims, 31mm wide. Sapim CX Ray Spokes, purple Sapim Nipples with AntiFreeze green ONYX hubs with our logos engraved. Cushcore front and back on the tires, and I'm running a 27.5 by 2.8 plus size wheel set tires on this bike. These are the Maxxis Rekon Plus. They do barely fit through the frame. I got a little bit of clearance. And since I ride in dry conditions anyway, I'm not really concerned with rubbing the frame. So, because you don't ride in Texas when it's wet because it's clay and it's gross and it's nasty. Sucks onto everything. It's like gum. Code RSC brakes, just like I am on Hanzo, except these do have the Cascade link for the brake set on the codes. Initial impression between the normal code and the link from Cascade, it does have a more Shimano-ish feel where it's less modulation. The lever does feel stiffer, so it takes a little more force to make it go down, but it does seem to have more ultimate power, but there's less. So if you have your starting stroke to ultimate power, the code has more usable area here, where the Cascade link makes that usable area this small and the rest of it's full power. So it seems to be a lot stronger. Running the Cascade link in the middle, it is heavy compared to the original link, which I also had custom painted. It does have some advantages. So as far as the changing of the travel, it does make it 160 mil travel versus the stock 153 millimeter travel with this, which isn't a big deal. It does soften the initial stroke, so it is a little smoother. The biggest thing, and the reason why I won't run this again, is lack of chatter. I don't know why, I don't know how, but with this linkage on, just going downhill, no matter what gear you're in, there is a significant amount of chain chatter. Just lots of noise going on. Slap on the Cascade link, chatter is gone. I like quiet bikes, so I'm going to leave that on there. I don't care if there's a £1.50 penalty or whatever it is between the two. Just because it's silent, it keeps us back in silent, I'm going to run it. But I do get the benefits of the other stuff too. The Transex dropper post again, both of my seat posts are 200 millimeter drop. It's the same type of seat post on the Hanzo. It's an air pressure system, so you can adjust it. And again, just like the other one, maybe once or twice a year I'll have to air it up, and then I'm done. It works. I'd like to have the AXS post, but I have to buy 2 of them, and that's not going to happen yet. And the Rockshox Super Deluxe rear shock. This rear shock has been 3 different shocks, or styles of shock. So I ran the Super Deluxe stock, which is my favorite. I ran it with the Megneg system. One of my customers let me borrow this one. So I'm running the Megneg, or I ran the Megneg, which is mega negative. I didn't like it as much. I'm 235 pounds, and with the stock shock I put in 250 PSI, and it's perfect. With this one, no matter what I put into it, 325 PSI, and it's almost where I'd like it to be, but to make it handle like this, I'd have to flip the lockout, and I hate using the lockout. A bike should not need this to work. It should just work. And with the stock shock, they designed it to work that way, and at 30% sag, it's got a nice little platform. The only thing I may do is adjust the low speed compression for better or less pedal input. But otherwise, I don't use the lockout. I hate using lockout. There's no reason for it. It's pedal smooth, and you're good. Mega negative for me is not the right choice. It did feel a little more like a coil spring, which is good and bad. I also ran it originally with a Marzocchi CR coil spring on the back. I think the biggest spring I can get was a 700 pound. First, I would have ran an 800 pound if they made it, but they don't. It was big, it was squishy, it rode really, really nice, but it is not what I was looking for. For me, because I love riding my hardtail, I kind of want a squishy hardtail feel, and that's what I get with this. Up front, I'm running the Rockshox ZEB Ultimate. Originally, when I had it, to match the Marzocchi rear shock, I ran the Marzocchi Z1 Bomber coil fork in the front, and I ran it 160, 170, and 180. 170 was, I think, where I ended up with on that. And it was a heavy fork. It worked. It was smooth. But, I mean, the ZEB, I'm running 170 millimeter travel up front with the Rockshox ZEB Ultimate. That is significantly smoother than the Marzocchi Bomber. Even though it's a coil, that air fork is smoother than a coil fork. One of the best forks I've ever ridden. I just don't worry about it. Just like on the Pike, on my Hanzo, I do have the MRP ramp control installed. Obviously, I've got the Charger 2.0 damper or 2.1 damper, whatever it is now, on both bikes. So adjustments are identical, easy to use, don't have multiple different options. I just want to set, forget, and go ride. If I have to adjust something, it should be easy clicks. I work on everybody else's bikes. I don't want to have to work on mine. I do have a different handlebar on this bike, which I'm debating on getting another one of these for the Hanzo, because my Hanzo bars are 780 wide, 780 millimeter, the RaceFaces. These are the Deity, I forget which model, they're carbon, in a 35 mil clamp. These are 800 or 810 wide, uncut, nice and wide. I like it. They feel really good. I am running a Deity stem in purple, wolf tooth green spacers, fabric saddle. Now I'm running the RaceFace Get a Grip, I think, in the biggest size they make, like a 35 mil. My Hanzo, I'm running that Cane Creek bottom bracket. This one I'm running the Kogel ceramic bottom bracket installed on the Process. It's the only bottom bracket that was available at the time, product shortage. Now, we're in North Texas, Dallas-Fort Worth. You absolutely do not need a bike like this. You don't. You just don't need this bike. The good hardtail or a short travel like a Process 134 with 140 millimeter travel up front, 134 in the back would be perfect for anywhere you want to go in Texas. One bike, done. To have a bike like this, for me, with 170 millimeter travel up front and 160 in the back, if I go anywhere where I may have to rent a bike because my hardtail is not big enough, even though I still ride my hardtail and probably do well with it, I won't be wanting on a bike like this. I won't need to rent a bike to ride down Angel Fire. I won't need to rent a bike to go anywhere else. I've already got the bike here, and I'm going to drive wherever I go anyway. And to be honest, there is nothing my Kona Hanzo ST, my hardtail, won't do that this does. But it is a badass bike. But again, if I had to choose one bike for the rest of my life, from the two bikes I have right now, it'd still be the Hanzo ST.